Back in a time before FIFA was the go-to franchise for football games, we had a few pretenders to the crown. Sensible Soccer was always my favourite, as not only was it playable as hell, but it was also funny. I don't know what made it humorous exactly. Maybe it was the distance a player flew when diving for a header, or maybe it was that weird demo disc I got with a copy of Amiga format back in the day that replaced the players with a team of apples and oranges. They called it Unsensible Soccer, if I remember rightly. I've had the pleasure of playing the game on many different platforms from both the 8-bit and 16-bit families, but none were quite as much fun as the Amiga version. There was a Game Boy version as it happens, which we'll see in not too long a time. There were many other attempts at creating a realistic football simulation, but many were all wrong. Probably the first major-ish name was that of Dino Dini's Kickoff, that first rose to prominence on the Amiga and Atari ST computers in 1989. This quickly gained a huge fanbase and still has a cult following today. There was a high level of skill required to get going, as the ball didn't magically stick to the player's feet, but reacted independently of them, being kicked forwards as the player ran. It was well received due to being the first time that a natural dribbling feel was replicated. Sports have proven themselves to be tough to mimic on the Game Boy for whatever reason. Often these events are more dependent on colour than we perhaps realise, telling the teams apart and so on. It's obvious that the way forward is to focus on the gameplay side of things primarily, and just try your best with the rest of it. Super Kickoff feels just like the other versions I remember. The physics of the ball are good, momentum is lost at a terrestrial rate rather than a Jovian one, the ball runs as if on grass rather than a field of syrup. So, the physics were done right at the very least. It's a shame that the controls were not up to the same kickoff standard. Passing can be carried out after a fashion, although ground passes tend not to be a thing. You have two options: punt the ball as hard as you can, and punt the ball slightly less than as hard as you can. You take a chance when passing anyway, as you can't see very far ahead of you to tell where a teammate is, and there's no map. It doesn't seem to matter which button you press to shoot, they both do the same thing. Tackling is hard but doable, and you'll slide for days, knocking the ball miles away rather than being able to steal the possession. It really bugs me as well that you have no control over your keeper. Sure, their saves are often automatic, that's not the problem. Anytime your goalie has the ball, he'll simply welly it as hard up the pitch in a straight line as he can. He doesn't target your players or attempt to pass to them. Playing out from the back is not a thing here. It's very much non-league hoofball stuff. Having said all that, it's still possible to get a reasonably decent play experience out of this version. It's not great, and the game really could have used a difficulty select screen rather than having the opponents simply be unbelievably good. You can play a practice mode if you like, it's just your team against the CPU's goalkeeper, but can give you an idea of how the game responds. You can also choose a friendly match or an international one, with the different players having such delightfully stereotypical names such as the Italian centre-back P. Pizza, or every single one of the Scottish team having a surname starting with Muck. There's also an events option which allows access to a few tournaments. At first it appears that you can only watch the scores come in on some vidiprinter. You actually have to manually change the setting of the team you want to control. This allows you, if you're unscrupulous, to take control of the team at the top of the league and have them lose 10-0 if you like, or play it genuinely. It's just strange that you don't just pick a team and have the rest of the matches automatically simulate. Coming back to the presentation briefly, the graphics were never a strong point with these games, but they're really not so good here. The ball is nothing more than a black dot, and the opposition goalkeeper looks identical to your players. That's part of the problem with the black and white screen, of course, but more could have been done to differentiate them. The sound is in and around the awful mark. No crowd noise even when you score. You get a poor assimilation of a whistle, and a couple of naff bleeps here and there. I'm not sure about Super Kickoff. I love the franchise, as do many people who grew up with the pre-PC home computers in my country. It'll always have a special place in the hearts of those who cut their video game teeth on the Amiga. However, as we'll see again with the Game Boy port of Sensible Soccer, not every entry can be a winner. Thanks so much for watching this video. The Kickstarter for the book is now live. Check the link in the description for how you can back the project and be the first to get your hands on the Portable Power Encyclopedia, featuring more than 900 Game Boy game reviews and a whole wealth of useful information on the world's favorite handheld console. See you later on.